if you think entrepreneurship is cool, like being a rapper or a rock star, or like the cool stuff, well then you try to become one, which is amazing. The problem is, entrepreneurship is not like school. Entrepreneurship is not like your parents. Entrepreneurship doesn't care about your feelings. Entrepreneurship is not fake. Entrepreneurship is not something you can easily like figure out, and the results you can't hide. When you get a bad grade, you can like blame the teacher, right? You can do stuff. When you work in government, like it's a machine. In corporate America, machine, you can hide. There's a reason sayings like success has 1,000,000 fathers, failure has none exist. There are many fake environments in the world. But sports, you can't fake. Last night the Jets played, they lost.
They almost won.
They almost won.
They did all right.
They did all right. Another game that happened to happen yesterday was the Dolphins got their face beat in. Sports, you know, the Dolphins can't wake up today and be like, oh, we did it. But you can do that in corporate. You can do that. It's fake in a lot of places on earth. Sports is not fake. The closest thing to sports is entrepreneurship. Your business either works or it doesn't. You either make money or you don't. It either stays alive or it goes out of business. And what I worry about is a lot of people who are not actual entrepreneurs, who are, you know, playing entrepreneur or not purebred. I want everyone to be an entrepreneur if they are one, but for a lot of people, they're a number 2, they're a number 4, they're a number 8, and that's amazing. You know, some people are stay-at-home dads, some people are a lawyer, like we need everything, and that's amazing. I don't want people to be entrepreneurs, I want people to be self-aware to figure out what makes them happy and live that life. When we made entrepreneurship so cool, a lot of people went for it. The problem is, a lot of people have struggled with failing in front of everyone. You know, when you're not built for it, and then all of a sudden you go for it, and then it fails, that's failure in front of everyone. And the one reason that most people don't do entrepreneurship is they do fear failure. And I think a lot about fear and failure. I think one of the great things that happened to me was I did love sports, which meant I lost a lot. And then with school, I was losing so much in 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th grade that by the time I was 14, I was used to losing. I would argue I loved losing. I think it's why I love being a Jets fan. I'm being serious. As pissed as I was last night, there is a secret percentage of me that was like, good, you know, you know, and I think that is a characteristic of an entrepreneur, and that was a huge characteristic of mine. I think a lot about the kids that I see now that run away from playing something because they're scared to lose. For me, I was the reverse. I would play and play and play. I would cry. I cried a lot. When I was a kid, if you want to know about me, I cried a lot at 9, 10, 11, 12. But I would just get up again and play, and get up again and play. And I think we've done a terrible job in our society on demonizing losing. When we give kids 8th place trophies, we confuse them. You understand? We start to tell them as parents, losing is bad, so we have, because they know. I promise all the parents in here, when your kid's 8 and they get an 8th place trophy, they know it's weird. And when we give them that trophy, we're telling them losing is so bad, we need to like coddle your feelings and we're gonna give you this bullshit trophy. And what ends up happening is it doesn't set them up for real life, because real life happens and it doesn't work that way.
Before we go to Nima, I want to ask you one question about failing. What's your biggest professional fail?
I could take the next, I passed on, you heard that I invested in Uber? In the second round. I passed on Uber twice. And I wrote, my first book I wrote was called Crush It. I acknowledged only my family and one random person, the founder of Uber, Travis, because he helped when I wrote the book. He was the person I sent it to, and he gave me great feedback, and I wanted to acknowledge him. We were real friends, and I keep a very small circle. I have a lot of acquaintances, but friends, small. He pitched it to me twice. The first time I passed, the second time he picked, it was in this like grove in San Francisco. I think I stopped going to San Francisco because I didn't want to drive by it. He pitched me emphatically, like, hey, I really want you in. And it's funny, it goes back to offense versus defense. I just bought my first meaningful apartment in Manhattan, and I was a little less cash rich than I was accustomed to. And I just didn't feel like I wanted to write that $25,000 or $50,000 check, which I could have. That $25,000 to $50,000 check, I left $400 million on the table.
All right, that is a fail. However, it's not a fail.
Well, I don't know how to fail, because my parents taught me how to save money.
Okay.
I don't bet the farm to go to zero. My failures are things I've left on the table. My failures are the things I didn't do that I should. When Stephen Ross, the owner of the Miami Dolphins, bought a piece of VaynerMedia, he offered us, me and my brother, instead of cash, he offered a piece of the Miami Dolphins. I, out of pure emotion, because it was a good business deal, because I hate the Dolphins with my entire heart, passed on that. Instead of the $25 million in cash that we got to put into a fund and maybe 10 more million in cash for me and AJ to split to take home, that 35 is probably 350 million. So I don't know, I've told you 2 stories that I've already left $700 million on the table. I mean, I can go on. I mean, this is the life of an entrepreneur. Like, honestly, I know what those numbers say. I mean, honestly, I'm saying it out loud. I'm like, what the fuck? But I understand what it sounds like. But the reality is like, I'm not doing it for the money. I think that's the biggest reason we have so many fake entrepreneurs. I think the majority of them are doing it for the money. I think most people go into entrepreneurship or business to buy things that the business allowed them to buy. I just want to build businesses. I just want to play my game. And so I've made a ton of mistakes. But the one that I most regret is the one I've been most working on. I really struggled with candor in my professional career, which is wild, because as a public figure and as a personality, when I'm talking to the world, candor is my strength. But when I spoke to people individually that worked for me or that I cared about, I struggled with it. Because if I like you, telling you the truth that you're not doing well at something was a real struggle for me. And by the way, authentically, still is. But I've worked on it a lot the last 4 or 5 years, and I think it's really impacted my business in a very positive way. The thing I most regret are the people that I fired along the way who really weren't good at their jobs. But I never set them up to fix it because I couldn't tell them the truth, and then I would surprise them and just fire them. And it's a huge regret and by far the biggest mistake of my career, and I'm proud that I'm working on it.
At what age would you say you really understood the word entrepreneurship?
I mean, entrepreneurship wasn't a word. Like, when did I realize entrepreneurship? I don't know, 2006? Like, the word was businessman. There was no entrepreneurship. As a matter of fact, and this will land with people over 40, the only times I heard the word entrepreneur by the time I was 35 was I'd heard it randomly, and it usually meant the person was a loser, right? It meant that they were like making pretend to be a businessman. Like, I remember businessman was here and entrepreneur was here, and usually thought it was like someone using mommy and daddy's money to make pretend. It's actually now become that again. But when I was growing up, I mean, I actually think Entrepreneur Magazine might have been the first time going on a wine trip. I grew up in my dad's business, in the wine business. I actually remember maybe going to Napa in my early 20s and seeing Entrepreneur Magazine on the shelf, and I was like, I just thought I was a businessman. And so, you have to understand, again, there's no entrepreneur. When all the kids we just talked to, when I was their age, there was no businessman that you put on a pedestal. It's now popular culture. It's now cool. There was nothing cool about businessmen. When the most entrepreneurial or most successful businessman when I was in high school was the fucking biggest nerd on earth. There was nothing you were aspiring to. It was like, you thought, it was just not this way. Today, it's and I think about this a lot. I think people don't, the one class I was solid at and not got F's in was history. And I think about, I use history a lot as a frame of reference for the future. So, 70 years ago, 60 years ago, a pilot and an astronaut was super famous in America. Like astronauts off the charts, and pilots were like, whoa, like athletes. In the 1950s, professional athletes took summer jobs or off-season jobs because they didn't get paid enough. Literally Yankees that won World Series would then go work in hardware stores in Hoboken because they were getting paid so little or less in comparison, and now they get paid, $70 million a year. And so I think, I think things change. And I think the entrepreneur really hit fever pitch 3, 4, 5 years ago. And I think about that a lot because I'm worried about that, to be honest.